it's a scripting programming language which is quite similar to Java and it is compatible with Java. Okay. So has elements of both procedural and object-oriented programming languages. So it has both procedural and like object language elements. So normally just like Java only. Executes the fundamental application behavior, manages complex business process. So basically everything that you do in any Java application, since this here in Guideware, the same logics goes in GoSU. Okay, so everything can be handled through GoSU. So just like here we have the var. Okay, so since it's a scripting language, we have var to declare. Okay, but now when Java also has var in itself. Okay, so var and you declare your variable, and then whatever the value you pass into the variable, based on that the compiler will decide whether it's an integer or a string or whatever it is. Okay, the previous versions of GoSU, they were case sensitive. Okay, so like if you declare my string, okay, and you again similarly if you declare in smalls also my string, both will consider the same. But in the newer versions or the upgrade versions of GoSU, okay, GoSU package, they have removed case sensitivity and they have made it case insensitive. Okay, so that anywhere if you have like a small g and a capital G, both variables will be considered differently. Okay. So in using GoSU, what can you write down? So using GoSU, we will be writing down our business rules and entity enhancements. So basically entities can be enhanced to write down the properties. So one, we have declared properties, and the other we can have our defined properties. So declared properties are like the column, row, and the type keys, foreign keys, arrays which we have declared. Okay. Along with that, we implemented some delegates. Okay, created some subtypes and all. And apart from that, also we can include conditions or methods. Okay, so like let's say there is a visibility condition, or let's say there is a certain return type that I want to send through the entity class. Okay, so then I can enhance that entity class, create enhancements for it. Okay, and work on it. So we'll go through enhancements and we'll go further. So we'll be enhancing the class, which is simply meaning that we will be adding some extra properties to the entity class. Okay, so extend entity functionality with programming logic and entity methods. Business rules apply specific programming logic for testing a condition and performing an action. Okay, so it's like event file rules, pre-update rules. Well, so we have rule sets where we'll be writing down our business rules, and entity enhancements where we'll be enhancing the entity's features. Okay. Then we have entity names. So in entity names, programming logic that defines how to display a name for an entity instance. So basically, let's say there is a contact entity and I want to display all the contacts that are there inside the contact entity to in a drop down. So what I will do, I'll convert all these contact objects that you created, I'll convert all those contact objects based on the name of the contact. Okay, and that will happen with the help of entity names. Okay. So programming logic that defines how to display a name for an entity instance. Example, drop-down list of contacts, display name property of entity instance. And then you have GoSu classes which encapsulate data and code for a specific purpose or function. For example, you can create your separate GoSu classes, okay, like helper classes or plugin classes, which you can use, okay, to redirect or take whatever the action that you want to take inside, okay.
Yep. Okay.
And then we have workflows. Okay, so these are all the like headlines, the business rules. Okay, and entity enhancements, entity names, GoSu classes, and workflows. So workflows are like Run custom business process asynchronously, optionally with multiple states that transition over time. For example, you want to process a renewal. So, what are the steps that it should follow so that a renewal is processed or a cancellation is processed? Okay, so all those things will be handled through workflows. Okay, with the help of workflows. Then we can have GoSu API references, which contains navigable documentation for entities to regenerate the GoSu documentations. Okay, so or the API references, you can give the command like GW. Here instead of XX, you have to just replace it with B. Okay, so it will be GWB region GoSu doc. Okay, or you can also write down generate. Okay, GoSu dictionary. So it will be GN GoSu dictionary. Okay, and so either of the commands you can write to generate the GoSu documents. Okay, these will be just API reference documents for GoSu. Similarly, you can have API reference documents for Java. Okay, and you can just write down region Java doc for that. Okay, then start GoSu scratchpad. So where to you can test and write down GoSu and test your GoSu code. So to test your GoSu code or write down your GoSu code, you have the GoSu scratchpad. So in the GoSu scratchpad, you'll be writing down your codes. Okay, and testing your codes. So to start the GoSu scratchpad, just go here, tools, and you have your GoSu scratchpad. So here you'll be writing down your block of the statements. Okay, to test. How can you test? To test it, first you have to start your server. Okay, in debug mode. Just 1 minute, let it start and I'll take. Okay. So now I'm just deleting this. My server has started, and I'll just run this one to compile it here. Okay. So based on whatever the code I'll write down here now. Okay. So that will get compiled, and I can see the output in console here itself. Okay. I'll just have to click on this. Hello.
Yeah, Samit.
Yeah,
Okay.
Samit.
Then so you write down your code in your scratchpad. You can also debug within the scratchpad by attaching the debugger. So if you want to debug, you just attach a debugger here. Oh, studio got stuck. What happened there? Just a minute, I need to again restart this studio. Okay, you were able to set up and run the studio, this one? Training app? Hello?
Samit, you didn't share me training app 10 to me actually.
Yes, into actually your email ID was not working, and afterwards, like
Actually, yeah, I sent yesterday and day before yesterday to you mails.
I haven't checked my mails. Okay, so I'll check
Yeah, yeah.
once
That's what
because
I
I was
called to
not.
Nitish. Yeah, yeah. Even I was not there. I went to need to. I'll try on this Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Try
no.
today, Samit. Try today.
Okay, okay.
Because I think it was like almost a 1 GB thing. It took a long time to download.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just need to set my Java home as 1.8 and just run the TXE, nothing else.
Yeah, I just have to set it and run. That's it.
Okay.
I've written there, so
Mm-hmm.
in case you face any issues, just you ping me in WhatsApp. Or,
Okay, sure. Thanks.
so yeah, so you can place your breakpoints here, and then in the debugger you can debug it. Okay. So obviously this is one line. If you have multiple lines, then you can place your debugger like this, and then you can debug it in itself. Okay.
Okay.
And then the normal dot completion. So once you use the dot, obviously this auto code completion, which helps in completing the code. Smart, and then you have the smart helper and keystrokes, which will help you to indicate if anything wrong goes in. Okay, and the debug tool has the same shortcuts. If you have used Eclipse, the same thing. Okay, for the debug window also, or else in the here you can have you can rerun your server from here. Stop your server, pause your server. Okay, take a like thread dump of your a snapshot of your thread. Okay, so restore the layout. Check how many breakpoints you have, or check all the breakpoints at a single time. Okay, so from here you can do that, and then normally to navigate through the code, you can use like F7, F8 like this. Okay. Now for non-Guidewire application and Guidewire application. Okay, for non-Guidewire application, basically if you are declaring an int, okay, so that int becomes null or a boolean becomes null. Okay, whereas in Guidewire GoSU, okay, it is related to, like it will be by default set to 0. Like if you're declaring an int, int will be by default set to 0, or if you're declaring a boolean, it will be by default set to false. Okay, so that will be done by the compiler, okay, while compiling. So the non-guided application processes or the outside like open source GoSU and the Guidewire GoSU are different. Okay.
So okay, so this is a Guidewire GoSu, and there's something called
The open source GoSU.
open source GoSu also. Okay.
Okay. So the Guidewire GoSU compiler is a bit different. It's quite similar to Java compiler. Okay. Because the GoSU compiler is like obviously open source, so its behavior is different. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then once you run the server, okay, once you have the contact manager ready, which means that the contact manager is ready and up and running, which you can use to run or execute your server. Then how to write down a GoSU statement? Like let's say I want to declare a integer, okay. So I'll just write down var, let's say counter 1:int equals to 0. Okay, so it means that counter 1 is an integer. If I'm declaring var counter 2 equals to 0, that also means that counter 2 is an integer. Okay, if I declare like this also counter 3 colon int like this, so it means that also counter 3 is having 0 and it is an integer only. Okay, but this will be done during runtime, this assignment of 0. Okay, by the and this will be done by the compiler. Now let's print all of these three. Here, so all of these three are 0 only, integers. Okay,
0. Okay.
You can use a type of keyword to check, okay, what is the type of the variable or object, okay. Yeah. Okay. So all three are integers only. But see here, this counter to it was decided as an integer by the compiler because of the value. Okay, here the value was assigned by the compiler because this was null. And here you did it the both at the same time. Okay.
Okay.
Now if you want to change it like this, I'm declaring it as a float. So then that will become a float. Okay. You can give so whatever the type you want to give. Okay. And if you don't want to do that, like similarly, if you know, then you can give 0.0. Now what will happen here? This may be assigned to a double, okay, or a long double, depending on what the compiler will decide during runtime. See, so it is assigned to a double now. Okay.
Yeah.
So how to var variable name, data type, and initial value. Okay. So now we have unboxed primitives. Okay, these unboxed primitives like are basically Java primitives. They cannot be null, so they will be by default set to a default value. Okay, so integer, character, byte, start, long, okay, float, double, and boolean. They cannot be null. So obviously the integer part, okay, will be assigned to 0, okay, by the compiler, and the string part will be assigned to like a single quote during the runtime of the compiler. The boolean will be set to by default false. Okay, and let's see what's the character having. So if I have a character here, I'm printing it. See, okay, so it is having blank. Okay, but which means that it's an empty character. Okay, hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now GoSU primitive types. So obviously the Java primitive types and the GoSU primitive types are the same. Okay, nothing different in that. Okay. Now the normal statements. Okay, so compiler determines the ends of the statement. So you don't have to give a semicolon to end a statement. The compiler will itself decide the end of the statement. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you are giving a semicolon, that will be ignored by the compiler. It won't be considered the compiler as the end of the statement. Okay, but it will just be ignored by the compiler because even if you don't give it, it is the same thing. Or and even if you give it, also it is the same thing. So it doesn't matter. So then the comments, okay, should be double quotes. Normally knows how the single line comment, the multiple line comment, and the end of the line comments. Double quotes if you are giving double slash, which means that this is a single line comment. Control slash is a sorry end of the line, single line. So this is your end of the line. This single line. And this is a multi-line comment. Okay. Clear? And this whichever feel feasible, you can use them. Clear, right?
Yeah.
Now, so concatenation operation, okay. So do you want to go through these programs so you can practice these things? Like you just have to practice this the scratchpad.
Yeah, I think we can do it.
Okay. So you just have to practice the if and else. Okay, so obviously if and else. So you don't have to go through those basic things. Okay, the equality operator, relational compound. Okay, ternary. So obviously, these ternary operators maybe most of a lot of people won't be using. So ternary operator is less like your condition, and then you have to provide a true and a false statement. True, else false. Okay. So the only thing is like here you have to give a true and a false both. Okay. So if you have only one conditional condition to be validated, like either true or false, you go for a if and else at that point. Okay. So both are the same. You go for if and else, you go for this. Then there are static methods already there in Guidewire written. Okay. So you can use like date util, math, random, string util. So all these utility classes of Guidewire can be used. Okay, to write down the utility, whatever like date util or like random math util, string utils. Okay, so utility classes you can use to write down or use them to get a code, like get a random of 1000. Okay, or format date, get the current date like this. Okay, so those utility functions are already there. Now so to import, okay, so to import Java, we use the import keyword. Here we will be using uses. Okay, so it's just like uses gw.api dot util dot date util. Okay, and then whatever the date utility functions will be there, I can use them. Clear? Then GoSu object. So to create a GoSu object, okay, so you can give like this. So this date util is private. I'll use Acme TA classes rectangle. GW, GSRC. Get training at that classes. Okay. Now that object will automatically become a rectangle object. Okay. Because as I said, the bar will decide whether it's going to be what kind of an object. Okay, so based on your value that you're passing, automatically the compiler will decide the object type. Now, syntax to create new variable var object name equals to new type, create an instance of a type, GoSU class, Java class, array, guideware entity type. Okay, so based on whatever the object that you're passing, the type of the object is decided based on that. Clear?
Yes.
So then you can just access the properties of it just by declaring like R to height, R to width, or whatever like the properties you can access through by the accessing the from the object. Okay. Then subtyped entities. Okay, so guideware entities may have subtypes. And then we have already gone through subtypes, the creation of subtypes. If you have subtypes, okay, you can do create objects through type referencing, which means that like if I have an object like an for AB contact, then it will become like, and I want to access AB person, I'll just do typecasting. Okay, so now this email address first name. Okay, so this first name is a property of the AB person class. Okay, so I'm accessing by just typecasting this object. Okay, clear? Hello.
Yeah.
So like this, you can like do typecasting also and access. So you can practice these programs on your GoSU scratchpad. Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll go to our second slide. Okay, we'll be going in depth with like array declaration. And if you have time, so this is just the introduction to GoSU. So after that, we just have these array declarations. Okay, other declarations types. So if you can go through those declaration types, it will be good.